Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. So we're talking about GPT and a little bit of Elon Musk news splashed in, and let's just jump right in. So headlines: OpenAI, IBM urged Senate to act on AI regulation after past tech failures. And this is the CEO over at ChatGPT, OpenAI, Sam Altman. And in fact, it was a long thing. I want to go through this because I think it's something that we're going to be talking about for probably years to come. It's the same way we're talking about, with Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook and stuff like that. It's not going away anytime soon. And it's interesting because I want to put this together sort of in context of what's happening. If you saw earnings today, it was Home Depot. They said that their sort of forecast is not going to be so great. You can see it's their first annual decline in sales projections since 2009. Basically, during the the pandemic, everyone was like refurbishing their houses, building new decks, these kind of things, and that sort of boom is over, and in fact declined. You can see here. And also, too, this is in the context of the disappearing white-collar job. I've warned you guys this for a while, right? There's going to be just a bunch of jobs that essentially are going to be irrelevant, unfortunately. And this is going to be not to scare you, say over and over again, but to, prepare you, right? So make sure you have the job skills that are going to be irreplaceable, right? That they need you, they need a human to be there. And it's funny because I put this together with Elon Musk, and you got to read the news that Elon is doing now. He's always doing something funny. But read headlines. It looks like Elon Musk is getting more involved at Tesla. Read the email he sent demanding personal approval of all new hires. So this is Elon that he sent an email out to the VPs here. And this is the email. And these kind of things leak every now and then. So from Elon, an email: I would like to gain a better understanding of our hiring. VP should send me a list of their department hiring requests once a week. Think carefully before sending me the request. No one can join Tesla, even as a contractor, until you receive my email approval. Thanks, Elon. And it's funny because the Business Insider, they actually calculated if Elon were to actually read through all the possible hiring suggestions and make approval on every single one, he would have to, if he wanted to do it, work 21 days nonstop, not counting sleep. Why do I bring up the Elon news with ChatGPT/AI is because ultimately, in my opinion, the reason why we have, software, technology, these kind of things, is to reduce our workload, right? Not necessarily, how can I say, go back to this thing where I have to, approve every single thing manually myself, right? This is sort of why we develop these things, is to not, have to do this. And also to full disclosure, looking at Elon thing is like, you want to be rich so that you can go on clubbing. Like, for example, unshaven Elon Musk was clubbing in Mexico hours before meeting French President Emmanuel Macron. And he had to sleep in his car as a joke. And if you really want to see Elon Musk, he's at the club going, right? He's out dancing and stuff like that. But that's the point, is that I want to be out dancing at the club. I don't necessarily want to be in my office approving every single hire for 21 days straight with no sleep. That's not what I want to be doing. But, this is sort of one thing that we're kind of going through right now, is like how to think about AI and going forward. So, for example, the EU, they're much more stricter on these sort of things than, say, the US. And I think a lot of it has to do with essentially the tech companies can basically buy off politicians and write the laws more in USA. And because a lot of these, big tech, be it your Google, Microsoft, Apple, Facebook, these kind of things are, OpenAI, they're all US-based companies. So they can have way more influence. Whereas in Europe, their companies, you can make the case with maybe saying, hey, maybe you should regulate U.S. companies more to give us a more of a chance. But regardless of what you think about these things, the EU is way stricter than, say, the USA. So this would be like your privacy laws, and the one that was really stood out to me as I was reading this thing about the in EU, how they're trying to restrict AI is really your use of biometrics / like fake face recognition software, these kind of things. So for example, this is one of the things that you may or may not know. When you put your photos, all these things on social media, be it your Instagram, be it even, for example, YouTube or Facebook, and I mentioned YouTube is because I do this every day, as you guys know, is that the computers can essentially scan everything and then essentially put all of your data / pictures into the cloud. And one of the things that is happening, which is really quite interesting, is and I actually, this is I want to say 4 or 5 years ago, I went to sort of a I'll say secret / private. It was like a meeting over Amazon. It's not really secret anymore, but it was like a while ago. And basically they were sort of showing their technology back then. At that time was secret, of how they're able to sort of read facial expressions of people. and essentially read people. And this is a really interesting technology, but I can completely understand all these different, uses for that. Or, for example, what the EU privacy thing is, when you say scan all these people's photos, and you're able to make essentially fake people. As you guys know, this is actually a real thing, and it's a real problem. And you'll see it a lot in the bot comments on YouTube, where they're not necessarily just taking someone's social media directly. They're just sort of combining this person's ears, mouth, nose, etc., and putting all into one to make up essentially fake accounts. So that's a real thing. So they want to limit the use of our biometrics. I think is an interesting one. So going back to sort of the congressional thing, what they were saying here, so you can read here. OpenAI chief says new rules are needed to guard against AI risks. And let's read some of the quotes of the stuff. What the language is. So here's a quote here. The more general ability of these models to manipulate, to persuade, to provide a sort of one-on-one interactive disinformation, given that we're going to face an election next year and these models are getting better, I think this is a significant area of concern. And it's interesting, they talk about election, as you guys know, right? We didn't really have this so much say when I was a kid, where like you could put out an article that looked pretty real, and you can essentially fake anything that you want. And this is a thing that, people will put on social media of any basically fake news. You guys understand this concept, but this is a relatively new thing to where like it's really, really, I think convincing. That's a good way to say it. So, and the other thing that you're talking about, say the one-on-one, interactive disinformation. Like, for example, we were just talking about yesterday, how there is a social media influencer, and I can put the link to the video, but the basic gist of it is that you can now clone yourself much easier, and that's one of the things that they did at Congress as well. I think it was, I want to say Blumenthal was his name, senator. He was essentially, cloned his voice and stuff like that, and you'll see demonstration of this, and I think it's actually going to be a real thing on YouTube as well, to where theoretically the technology will be, I can record my voice, say whatever particular type of words, and then you type in something or whatever, or don't type anything, just tell the computer what to do, and it'll just make a whole thing for you, and that'll probably be the future of YouTube. So I do get it, that so for many people this is a exciting technology, and it is, but I can't emphasize enough that removing the human element entirely, certainly has, what should I say, risks or dangers or things like this. And this is actually, if you guys notice my videos recently in the past month or so or whatever, I've gone completely uncut to really emphasize that, yes, I do these things uncut and I'm a perfectly human person. And it is what it is, but you're going to probably notice a lot of the channels are going to do things really, really cut up, or they won't show their face at all. That'll be probably the future of YouTube. So I purposely try to make sure this stays human. Let's take a look at the more quotes here. When Photoshop came to the scene a long time ago, for a while, people were really quite fooled by Photoshopped images, and then quickly developed an understanding that images might be Photoshopped. This is what it'll be like, but on steroids. And it's funny when he mentioned that. For those of you who are old enough and you remember this movie, this was called The Rising Sun back in 1993, and it was based on a Michael Crichton book. If you don't know, that's the author of Jurassic Park. This is Sean Connery and Wesley Snipes. And there was a scene in the movie, and they ran it in the trailers. And when I was a kid, I was like, oh my God, what's going on? And basically what they were demonstrating is that, you could essentially, make a video, but these days you can basically Photoshop two people's different heads, and you can show that maybe the killer is not the killer, right? Because you can basically fake the video. But this is one of those scenes or slash sort of medias or movies or slash things that I saw when I was a kid that just really, really had a big effect on me, because it blew my mind at the time. And, I think sort of this kind of stuff that we're having with AI is likened to that. Yes, I know when you guys look at this old movies, but, if it was 20 some years ago or whatever, I'm getting old. But it sort of, really illustrates. So and actually it's 30 years ago, and I had to do the math, but this actually really illustrates sort of like the changes in technology. Back then, this was considered, revolutionary, but now we're getting even more crazy advanced. One of the things that I think really stands out about this whole thing is, for example, I think saying AI can go quite wrong is, I'll just pose this to you. What if I develop a technology that then, teaches people how to do a crime? Like, for example, I specifically didn't tell you, how to, we'll just say, steal a car. I didn't tell you how to do it, and teach how to do it. But my technology that does was able to essentially scrub the internet and then come up with step-by-step instructions on how to, jack a car. And this is probably one of the things that they will need to regulate. So, for example, as of now, if you ask ChatGPT to do, certain things or write certain things, it'll say that is not in my program, that's not my protocol, etc. But there's certainly going to be websites out there that have a sort of a no hold bar kind of thing. It's like talking about, say, social media, to where I'm totally fine with regulations, right? I don't problem with that, but I get it. We live in a world where people are like, oh, Elon Musk, free speech, everyone, whatever. And I just want you to understand the dangers of these kind of things. So what if, kids are involved? Maybe kids are viewing said content. Do you believe that we should limit the type of content that kids see? Just for example, as one example, or another one, just as being an adult, like, and I'm scrolling through my social media. Do you think there should be a world where you could just put any photo, clothes or no clothes, right? These kind of just a simple example, and that kind of thing. So for me, I don't necessarily need to see what everyone else puts. I do want a little bit of filter on there or have some controls of myself. And I think AI is just part of it. Just give you a couple different examples of this, and there's all kinds of risks that you can talk about with that. Coming in the future, I noticed this one as well. You can read the headlines. Amazon is building an AI-powered conversational experience for search. And the big sort of question that I have about this sort of Amazon thing, or be it Google or Bing and these kind of things, is sort of like when I ask a question like, what is the best, air conditioner? And it'll pop out a particular answer, right? And I'm sure you guys know this already. That answer is worth a lot of money. Whatever shows up first in search / AI, that's more, I'll say that I'm not exactly going to buy that product, but a very high chance compared to if something doesn't show up at all. Be it, for example, you search for a particular video and say, certain videos show up on YouTube and some certain videos don't. And I've shared this before on the channel. I'm going to share with you now. I've seen people in comments say that they actually sometimes search for my video and actually doesn't come up. And so sometimes I always wonder, like, how is the algorithm, working? Is it preferencing just certain ones because they're being paid to preference, or they have friends that work at YouTube? These kind of things. And I think, this sort of world, it matters. The difference with AI compared to, say, like old search results is AI will give you an answer in a way that sort of gives it a different type of authority, because it just feels like that is the only answer out there. That's a good way to say it. Whereas traditional search results, you kind of know exactly where the sourcing is. You get a list. So if I type in best, air conditioning, I would get like, a bunch of different websites and maybe a list of stuff, opposed to just sort of like a conversation. It's different. And so I want to just talk about these things with you guys again. Be prepared, not scared. And I always say the same thing as, what I want you to remember as well is have the job skills to where you can't easily be replaced. And also to just stay informed of what's going on with these things. I'd love to hear your thoughts on any one of these things. And, what do you think? Do you think we should be regulating AI, or just let it, go the way that it's going? Because essentially, less regulation, you could say more faster development and lots of, great applications, and we shouldn't limit that. So there's a couple different perspectives on these kind of things. So thank you for you guys for your time. Please share your thoughts, and I'll catch you in the next video.